Welcome to More Fanime. I am your fan of more anime. Wow. I just gotta say wow because I just got done watching One Piece Film Z, people. That is right, and wow, did it live up to its name. I really enjoyed this movie. I mean, the first One Piece movie I ever watched was One Piece Strong World in theaters last year for its 10-year anniversary or some shiz, and it blew me away. And I watched One Piece Film Z today for the first time ever. I've heard the hype about One Piece Film Z. The minute I posted my review on One Piece Strong World, a lot of people told me, just wait till you watch One Piece Film Z, the best One Piece movie ever. And that's not only surprised me and got me hyped because I really liked One Piece Strong World at like Miyazaki levels of good is Strong World is. Like, it is such a good story. It's such a good movie that you could show anybody that isn't a One Piece fan. And just to get them into One Piece, honestly, you don't even need to be into One Piece to enjoy that movie. And that's one of the reasons I really liked it. But One Piece Film Z, you need to know the backstory of One Piece to really see the interworkings of One Piece Film Z and to feel the feels. I mean, if you went into One Piece Film Z and that was your first piece of One Piece material, you'd be, in a lot of ways, you'd understand the bare minimum of it. You'd understand the sad, obvious points of spoilers, the main villain actually being twisted by, bad shit happening in his life. You'd understand that, but you wouldn't understand the inner workings of the Marines or pirates in this world, or the power system, which you'd be completely lost, but you'd have a good time watching it. You'd have a good time watching it, but you would not enjoy. I don't think it would get you into One Piece. It might intrigue you. It would really depend on your anime knowledge and how much you know of anime going in, or if it's just a blind first experience of anime, you might lose your shit. Especially One Piece, which is so deep with lore and how the government works. And really, this movie, One Piece Film Z, wasn't about the Straw Hats. They were there. They were the protagonists of the story, but really the main character was the antagonist, Zephyr, or Z, or Zed, whatever you want to call the guy. This guy was one of the most, if not the most, in-depth, character-developed movie villain I have ever seen. Like, Shiki was damn good because he had connections with Roger, and he had connections with Garp and Whitebeard. So that was cool, and they didn't even have to dive into all that. If you were a fan of One Piece, you knew where Shiki kind of came from, and it was a big deal because he's a powerful dude. And he's got connections. He's been involved in this living, breathing world that is One Piece. And the same goes for Zephyr Z. I mean, it's cool because a lot of the times in One Piece, the Marines are put off as either neutral parties or just assholes. A lot of them are assholes. And they're looked at as the bad guys of the story. And in One Piece Film Z, you really start to understand some of the perspectives of the good Marines, the ones that just wanted to protect people, that wanted a job that they can be proud of. And that's basically what Z was. Zed went through Marine school, I think, with Garp, or around the same time Garp did. I think they're around the same age. At least that's what I got from the movie. You learn a lot about Zed from Garp's perspective when he's talking to, I think, other Marines about him. They knew each other when they were in the Marines, and Zed had a really shitty life. So he was a good Marine. I guess he didn't have a shitty life, but he had a family and a wife and a daughter, and they were murdered by pirates who wanted revenge after him putting them or their friends in Impel Down, or killing them. Who knows? Executing them. Who knows? But they killed his family, which is pretty sad. I feel like the movie did miss the emotional grab there when they talked about him losing his wife and his daughter, because they kind of said that, and then they jumped into the part where he trained basically every Marine admiral and or vice admiral we know today in the story we know. Speaking of, we get to see a lot of Kizaru, who I'm a big fan of. I think he's a really good antagonist. And Aokiji. You get to see a lot of these two. You get to see the damage that was done to Aokiji by Akainu, who is also in this movie. Akainu's in this movie for a hot minute, no pun intended. He's in it, and he's commanding the Marines from like a headquarter base, and he's like, we have to catch Zed before he does this unlawful shit. Zed, who I haven't even had a time to even get in depth with his character, other than the fact that he lost his wife and daughter to pirates, asshole pirates, and so he hates all pirates. He wants all pirates to die. And he also thinks the One Piece is the cause for the Great Pirate Age, which in a lot of ways it was the catalyst for the Great Pirate Age. And so he thinks if he can destroy the One Piece, if he can basically blow up the New World, eliminating a large percentage of the pirates, he can basically reset the world, give the Marines the advantage. Even though blowing up the New World would not only kill a lot of Marines, it would also kill a lot of innocent people that he's trying to protect, and I think he knows that. It's weird. This movie makes you think that Zed has gone crazy, and he's just lost it after all the shitty things that happened to him. He lost I didn't even mention this, he lost a whole crew of Marines in a big fight with someone, and only two of them survived, a girl and a guy, who are in this movie, these two members of his crew, his main basic commanders, the two that fight Sanji and Zoro in the movie. And they're the other two survivors that turned on the Marines, and he gathers other Marines that are sick of basically playing Batman, is the best way I can explain it. Like, they capture pirates, but they get out, or they don't put an end to the pirate world. I guess he's pissed off about that. He doesn't think the current system is working. He probably hates the idea of pirate warlords being allowed to do whatever they want to do. He probably hates just the way the government's run. So he's going to blow it up. And his planet revolves around using 3 volcanoes. There's like these 3 major volcanoes in the New World that are all connected. And if you set them off, all 3 of them around the same time within the 48 hours or some shit, it will basically cause a crazy explosion that will destroy most of, if not the entire New World, which includes the One Piece. And that's what I got from the story. That's his plan. That's Zed's plan. After losing so many comrades, after losing his wife and his daughter, he kind of lost it. And the movie makes you think that he's kind of gone a little cuckoo. But really, I don't think he has. Like, it almost feels like he wanted to do this major extreme plan that seemed crazy, but also it got the attention of the Marines, who I assumed he just wanted to die in a lot of ways in battle, since he was basically retired. His body was giving up on him. He lost an arm. He had to use like this fake robot arm, which I assume was built by Dr. Vegapunk. This arm that's made almost entirely of sea stone, so it's basically the ultimate weapon for a devil fruit user. And he uses that, and that's like his main weapon, which is great for him because most of the strongest characters in One Piece are devil fruit users, for the most part. So that does help him out a lot. He's kind of the perfect weapon to fight a Devil Fruit user, and he also is proficient in armament hockey, from what I could tell. The dude didn't seem crazy to me. The movie starts. Let's just get into the movie's plot. The movie starts with him stealing bombs, these eggs, these weird egg things that the government has, the Marine has. I think they're natural eggs, or they were bombed. There were some kind of devices created by Vegapunk. I don't know. They're basically weapons of mass destruction. And if they are exposed to air, basically, they explode. And he wants these bombs so he can set off these damn volcanoes. So the movie starts a long period. By the way, there's a shit ton of action in this movie. So if you're worried this is a story-driven movie and a lot of talking, there's a lot of action. I would say that the movie's 50% action. The movie starts off with action. It starts off with Zed flying through this Marine base, beating the shit out of people, getting these bombs, and then ending up fighting Kizaru, who shows up, which gets me so hyped. I love it when anime movies or just movies about shows I like involve canon characters, even though I think Zed is a canon character, but the movie, quote-unquote, isn't canon. I like that they involved Kizaru. I like that this movie fits perfectly between the Fishman Island arc and Punk Hazard. So I think that's pretty damn cool. So I love it when you can fit a movie, an anime movie, into the timeline. It doesn't have to be there, but it's an extra piece you can fit into a time period where nothing was going on. So it's perfect for that. Zed gets all these bombs. He's able to get away from Kizaru, who's extremely powerful still. We've seen him before. He's a light man, so he is pretty tough. He throws one of those bombs at Kizaru, and the only reason he survives is because of his Devil Fruit abilities. Zed takes off. No, Zed actually gets trapped. He gets caught in the explosion. You're like, what are you doing? If you die, then who's going to finish your mission? And I guess his crew of Neo Marines, by the way, his crew's called the Neo Marines, and they're basically pirates. From the beginning of the movie, I kind of thought that he and his crew were pirates. And later on, when we find out that he hates pirates, I don't think we find out that he's a former Marine until after this, but later on, I'm thinking, why does this guy hate pirates? He's obviously a pirate. I was like, who does he think he is? Because he gets saved by Luffy and the gang, who finally show up in the movie. And they save him because he's adrift at sea. It's probably really hard to swim with that giant arm of his, the sea stone arm. Probably sinks like a rock. He gets picked up by them. Dr. Chopper does his doctrine. Luffy eventually is there when he wakes up. They have a nice chit chat. And this is the reason I didn't think that Zed was really crazy. I think that he wanted to eliminate all pirates. And you consider that crazy, but I don't think he was out of his mind at all. He was having a great conversation with Luffy. He recognized that Luffy was the captain without Luffy having to say so. But he didn't recognize that they were pirates, but they were being extra nice to him, so maybe he assumed they weren't because pirates are all trash to him. When the minute Luffy mistakenly tells him, hey, we're pirates, even though I think the dude already told him that he hates pirates, I hope that us being pirates won't be a problem with you, and he just loses it, and Luffy ends up brawling with Zed. By the way, they fight each other 3 times in this movie, and Zed beats the shit out of Luffy in the first 2 fights. And I was just like, whoa, because I know that he's weak to Sea Stone, and that's kind of his kryptonite, and most Devil Fruit users' kryptonites. So I'm happy that that's a thing. I'm happy that he was able to bring a challenge to this kid. I mean, in a lot of ways, Zed could be, he trained with Garp at some point. So he's got to be a damn strong opponent. He's got to be Vice Admiral level, maybe even Admiral level. I mean, he was able to hold his own with Kizaru. He was able to hold his own with a large group of Vice Admirals at a certain point in the movie. Luffy and them fight. Luffy loses the fight on the ship. It's kind of a quick fight because Zed ended up having a Vivre card, and his crew shows up almost immediately after he finds out they're pirates. His crew jumps in and fights them head on. One of his crewmates is a girl. I think she's his number one, his vice captain. She's a swordsman. Not a great swordsman, but a good swordsman. I would say she's probably on Tashigi's level. She also has the ability of the reverse fruit, I think, the return fruit. And she can return people 12 years younger, turn people 12 years younger than they were. And every time she touches you, it's another 12 years until you don't no longer exist. And it's kind of similar to Sugar's power from Dressrosa. How if you knock her out, her powers reverse. You return to normal. But if she never gets knocked out and she doesn't free you from this curse, you will remain 12 years younger. That's what I got from this movie. You definitely saw signs of that Sugar aspect there, that you have to knock them out physically. They can't just go to sleep and the power ends. It's forever until you knock her the F out. It did make me wonder why she doesn't make her captain younger, make Zed younger, because he could use a good 12 years. The dude's got like asthma, no arm. He needs some help. Maybe if she kept making him younger till his arm came back, that'd be kind of cool. That might be possible. My only guess is he's just too proud to take on that kind of shit. I don't know. They should have. That's kind of a plot hole in a way. I mean, my only assumption is he's like, I don't need to be younger. I don't need devil fruit bullshit. And plus, if she gets knocked out, it goes back in the middle of a fight. So he's got to like adjust to that. So that's true. That's true. Maybe he's thinking if she gets knocked out in a fight, I get turned 12 years older, or even if she makes him like 36 years younger, she gets knocked out, he instantly doubles his age, and then he's not used to fighting as an old man. So that would suck. So that is my theory to why he doesn't make himself younger, is he doesn't want to get caught off guard. He knows his body now, so he's going to use it to its best of its abilities. But yeah, she ends up making Chopper, who was way too cute in this movie for me. And I've kind of mentioned this before, that they've over-cuted Chopper in the New World, in the 2-year time skip. He's just way too cute, and it bugs the shit out of me sometimes. I miss when his goal was to be a great doctor, and I know it still is. It just seems like the last thing on his mind sometimes. He's like, I want cotton candy. I'm adorable. And so she makes him 12 years younger, which just makes him smaller. So it really just to make him even cuter. Nami gets 12 years younger, which kind of affects the plot. And Brook becomes 12 years younger, which was hilarious because nothing really happens, but he acts like it's such a big deal. And I thought that was pretty funny. I really, really enjoyed this movie, people. I can't tell you that enough. I really appreciated the fact that they took a movie villain, essentially a movie villain, and gave him such a deep backstory and something the fans can understand. We know a little bit about the inner workings of the Marines and the government and how fucked up it can be, this world can be, and how shitty some pirates can be. Most pirates, probably. And this guy also fought with Goldie Roger, I'm assuming. Like, he knew that hat, like that straw hat. Or he saw Shanks wearing it, but he probably fought Goldie Roger in his heyday. He was there during the golden era, or the silver era, whatever you want to call it. He was there during when the OGs, the original pirates, the powerful, the ones that set this world on fire originally, were there. He was a part of that. He lost everything to them. And his whole government, like the people he grew up around, told him pirates are evil, they are bad. It's crazy. And he had such a big influence on the Marines today, the admirals today. He trained the people we know of today, the villain, the antagonists that we know of today. Aokiji, he's got a relationship with Aokiji, which is really deep. There's a point where Aokiji basically challenges him to a fight. Aokiji's like, throughout this entire movie, kind of keeping an eye on the Straw Hats and Zed. It almost feels like Aokiji knows that he might be the only one that to be able to stop Zed if shit came to, hit the fan. Like, if there was no other person, if Luffy lost, if the Marines couldn't do it, then Aokiji, who is now his own entity, he has left the Marines. He's got literally one leg now, and an ice leg. He's so beat up from fighting Akainu, but I honestly think that Aokiji could easily beat, not easily, but he could beat Zed in a one-on-one, because I don't think Zed could handle the ranged attacks that Aokiji can do. And I think Aokiji knew that he could beat him, but he really did not want to beat his former sensei, the man who trained him to be the man that he is today. I really don't think Aokiji wanted to have to be the man to put down this old dog that won't stop fighting, that won't accept retirement, that can't find peace. He didn't want to be that guy. And you can appreciate that. But he knew he wasn't going to let Zed set the new world on fire and explode everything. So if necessary, he would have stepped in. He was watching that fight at the very end. Let's see, what's some important parts of this movie? Oh, the second captain, or second vice captain on Zed's crew had the ability to manipulate plants. He was kind of the goofy villain looking, theme-wise. He kind of looked a little goofy, acted a little goofy, but he could control plants kind of like poison ivy. That's my best explanation for that guy. He ends up fighting Sanji, and of course the swordswoman ends up fighting Zoro. And those fights were epic as shit. They were able to, I didn't even talk about this, they were able to incorporate CGI into this anime movie so seamlessly that it didn't bug me. It actually enhanced the visuals, in my opinion. I am not a big CGI guy in anime or really anything, and I think that they found a way to make it work here. They used it for a really sick tracking shot with it during Zoro's and Sanji's fight. Like, as they're moving through the air, you're basically circling around them. It was a sick AF. I really enjoyed Zoro and Sanji's one-on-one fights with the vice captains. Sanji's was definitely the most impactful, and then Zoro's was dope because he was in control basically the entire time. His only worry was being turned into a child by this girl. And I think, honestly, I was kind of hoping that she would turn Zoro 12 years younger, and he would be around the same age as he was when we saw him during his flashback. And he's like this little kid again, and he's got to like pick up his swords, or at least one of the swords, maybe just the white handled sword, and he has to beat this girl who he's obviously more skilled than. Like I said, she's kind of at the Tashigi level, and I think that he knew that he could crush her almost from the first time they clashed, and I think that her turning him into a kid again, and him only being able to use one sword style, or two sword style, or barely able to use three sword style because the swords are too heavy for him or something. He loses a muscle mass. It would have been interesting that maybe it brought him down to her level, and then their fight would be super interesting because they'd be on even plane, and he'd have to really worry about getting touched by her again and losing another 12 years, which I don't think he has. No, he's too young, so he would be poofed out of existence. It would have been really cool. Like, I think that would have really made their fight one of the best fights of the movie if he was forced to fight as a kid again, and he had to worry about her just touching him and he would lose. And he had to use his abilities. He had to use hockey in a younger body. Or maybe he wouldn't be able to use hockey because 12 years ago he didn't train it. His body might not be capable of using it at that point. So he's forced to just use his skills to beat this girl who's also very skilled. I really can't remember major details about Sanji's fight. I only watched this movie just now, so I'm gonna rewatch it again and have to. Well, I know I liked it. I know it was impactful. I know it was dope. So both really good fights. So there are a lot of really good action fights in this movie. There's basically three major action scenes, and they all involve the three volcanoes. The beginning of the movie where he collects the bombs, and I think on that same island that he sets off the first bomb at Kizaru, that was the first volcano, which is kind of weird. Why do you keep these bombs next to this volcano? Please comment down below and let me know if I'm correct about that. Then the second one was the second volcano, which we find out these points of the New World, these volcanoes, are like a hidden thing that the government has hidden from the world and said there's no such thing as these three volcanoes that connect and can cause a deadly destruction. Basically because they don't want people to leave the New World to worry. That's my guess. They don't want people to worry. So they just hid that from them. You know how the government can hide important information like in the real world? Well, they did that here. And I thought that was well placed. I thought that was an interesting tidbit of information that they found out, that the government hid, that they found out from Aokiji, which was in a great scene. There was a great scene when Aokiji actually ran into the Straw Hats in like a bathhouse. There's a lot of like little moments with the Straw Hats just having a good time. I mean, I really did enjoy the aspect of Nami having to function as a little kid again. I didn't like the fact that she was still able to use her climb attack so well. Like, it almost feels like she should have been kind of sidelined as the navigator only, but she did end up fighting. There was a lot of fan service in this movie, if that's what you're looking for. Like, the first time you see Nami in this movie, she talks for like 15 seconds and the camera's just on her chest while she's talking before you even see her face. And just sits there. And you're like, was this necessary? Like, I see what you're doing here, but was it necessary? But there's a lot of that. I think I forgot to mention that Nico Robin gets turned 12 years younger, but since she's much older than the rest of the crew, she basically becomes 17 or 18 and just looks great. Does her thing. And I'm sure she's not even mad. She's like, cool, I'm fucking 18 again, so I'll grow up again. Cool. I mean, I lost a lot of my life living a shitty life, so I'd love to have those years back. But, I mean, eventually she grows older again, and her chest size grows as she gets older again, in a fan servicey way. Just so you know, that's in the movie. But yes, there was major fights. I did feel like Robin, one of my favorite characters, got to have major fighting moments. She's a really good support fighter, as you may know. She got to be involved in the general fights at the very end against the fodder opponents. I did kind of hope that there would be a major villain for Robin to fight. I mean, it's rare to see her have a one-on-one fight. I mean, has it happened, really? I mean, she fought Pell at Alabasta. She kind of fought Crocodile and got her ass beat. But I don't think, because in Enies Lobby, I guess she beat the crap out of Spandam. She's really mostly a support fighter, but I really would love to see her have a major one-on-one, even if it's just in one of these movies. I think they could have had her fight the swordsman girl in this movie and just avoid her. Maybe she keeps getting turned younger and younger, just like my idea with Zoro. Like, she's got to deal with that. She doesn't even have to be a swordsman. I just feel bad that they never give her the opportunity to be a badass against a major opponent. But there really wasn't a villain in this movie. Like, you could see the side of the Neo Marines, except for the idea that they would kill innocent lives to destroy the One Piece and destroy most of the pirates in the New World. So, it would have been cool to see Kid in this movie, but I see why they didn't do that. Or Law, because they're very important to Punk Hazard. Same with Smoker. Smoker is shown in this movie as being trained by Zephyr as well. But he isn't in this movie, and I assume it's because he's a big part of Punk Hazard, which is the next big arc in the anime. So I assume that he is not there. because of that. Same with Law. I think that it would have been cool to see Smoker and Tashigi, even though I think Tashigi probably wouldn't have anything to do with Zephyr's past. But he was partially trained by this guy. He might have been, I mean, I don't know how old Smoker is, but he knew Aokiji. They all came up together. This class of Marines came up together. Kizaru might have been the guy to give the killing blow to Z. Like, honestly, if you told me before this movie that Kizaru would have been the one to finish off the main villain of this movie, I would have been like, no, they're not going to do that. Luffy's obviously going to be the one to fight them. I haven't even talked about Luffy's fights. Well, the first 2 fights, he gets beaten in really good, badass, well-animated fights. But the last fight between Luffy and Z really stood out to me. Like, it was just a fist fight between men. And it was brutal, people. It was intense. Like, I did not expect it. Especially, we had 2 super intense, super fast fights with Zoro and Sanji in their separate individual fights. And then we get to the final fight supposedly the final fight between Luffy and Z, and they're just brawling. They're just throwing haymakers. It's like punch and then stumble, punch and then stumble. It's like the end of a pro wrestling fight. It was so unexpected and so welcome to me, because I just expected Luffy to go Gear 1000 and Zed to like pop a couple like pills to make him stronger one last time, and then they were going to both Hulk out and just end up fighting, and a big explosion was going to happen. But no, it was nothing like that. It was just a brawl, a fist fight, and Luffy just barely edged out the win. Zed couldn't get back up after the bell, basically, and it was like a boxing match. Zed, because like, I want to keep fighting you, but I can't. You could tell that he respects Luffy. You can tell that he also respects Garp, because I think one of the reasons Zed kept leaving Luffy alive was his respect for Garp. That's just my assumption, because the minute he finds out that he's related to Garp, he kind of goes easier on him. At least that's what I got out of it. And then I think he actually, because of his relationship with Garp, he actually got to know Luffy a little bit, and getting to know a pirate is something he probably doesn't bother doing. And since he got to know this pirate kid and learn that this kid has a dream, and he also learns that he's been crushing people's dreams, pirate dreams. I mean, Aokiji at one point explains that, you know, these pirates, they have dreams they were trying to fulfill. They're not all necessarily bad. And Zed kind of just put them all into this one corner. Pirates bad, Marines good, and that is not what One Piece is, as you know, as I know. I mean, there are good people that just want to go on adventures, that just want to be outlaws. There are bad ones, but there are good people. Like, if Zed wanted to go on some crazy mission to change the world, he should have just, like, decided, I'm going to go eliminate one of the 4 emperors. Something that the government can't do, because it's just too much. But I will, as an individual, separate from the Marines, go and eliminate one of the major emperors like Blackbeard or Kaido, or Big Mom, somebody that's super dangerous. He could go on a suicide mission to eliminate them, come up with a major plan. I'm sure he could make it happen. That seems like the better way to go out, because this way it makes you seem like a traitor to the government that you served for all those years. And he also had to fight his prodigies, his kids that grew up in the Marines. And then at the very end of the movie, Luffy and the gang bounce after beating Zed. Zed gets back up, and the Marines show up. Kizaru shows up with a large group of vice admirals. The only one that, in my opinion, was missing that was part of the class of Zed was Smoker. And they all show up, and they fight each other. They fight in a basically 8-on-1 fight against Zed, and I assume Kizaru is the one to put Zed down at the end. And they have a little funeral for him. Aokiji and the 2 captains from Zed's crew, the Neo Marines, cry over his grave, and it's pretty sad. And then they play an Avril Lavigne song that's like a cover of a Nickelback song during the credits, which I feel would have been sick during the movie, like during Luffy and his fight at the very end. I thought that would have been kind of cool. Because it was a really good Avril Lavigne cover thing, or Nickelback cover. I thought that was dope. It's probably only in the English version, but I thought that was really cool and unexpected. It was really unexpected that we didn't get to see what was going on with the Straw Hats after the fights. Like, they ended up winning their fights almost too easily, in my opinion, and at the very end, and then they left. They just bounced, like they're on their way to Punk Hazard. Bye-bye. And they usually in movies, they'll check in on him. Like at the end of Strong World, they checked in on what happened with the crew after they beat Shiki. They made sure we all knew everybody was okay, and everything's gonna be okay. I'm not sure if I mentioned, after the girl that turned everybody young got knocked out, everybody on the crew returned to their normal ages, and it was really funny because Brooke acted like it was such a big deal, and I thought that was funny. Frankie was kind of sidelined during this movie. I think he got to use General Frankie for a hot minute, but he was mostly repairing the ship because the Sunny got fucked up by the Neo Marines at one point. But man, it was a sad story. It was a complete, almost a polar opposite to Strong World in a lot of ways, since Strong World was really focused around the Straw Hats. This was more focused around the Marines, and the Straw Hats were just secondary characters. Like, the antagonists were the main characters in this movie. That's what it felt like to me. And I would say, personally, Strong World was a 9 out of 10 to me. And One Piece Film Z, I'd give an 8 to an 8.5 out of 10. I think there was something, it was missing, but I could honestly give this the same rating as Strong World, but I enjoyed Strong World just that little bit more. Maybe because it was in theaters, that was a big deal, because it forces you to focus in and see every little detail, which I will get when I rewatch. And I think the more rewatches I have of One Piece Film Z, the more I'll love it. And I do love it. I just think that I enjoyed Strong World so much, maybe because of the experience of seeing it in theaters. I had a great time. And it had more One Piece Straw Hat humor, which I appreciate and I love. And you got to see Zoro and, Sanji team up and whatnot. This was kind of them. They were kind of separated in this movie. They did bicker a little bit, but I love watching my Sanji and Zoro bicker. This has been More Fanime. I'm Mr. Morfetto. What did you think of my review of One Piece Film Z? Is there something I missed? I thought it was dope seeing all the admirals do cool shit in a One Piece movie. I thought the fights were sick. This movie is a fantastic movie. And if you haven't seen it and you listened to this entire spoiler-filled review, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to go watch this movie because it's fantastic. I bought it on Blu-ray. It's like $10 on Amazon. It's worth every damn penny. I'll definitely watch this movie multiple times whenever I need that One Piece fix. Tell me what you think. Do you think that Strong World was better or this? I'm actually really excited to see One Piece Film Gold, to see where that sits between these two movies. I've heard nothing good about One Piece Film Gold, so my expectations are low. So that might help it, because my expectations were really high for One Piece Film Z. I was almost expecting something insanely good, and so maybe that might have set my expectations too high. I thought it was fan-freaking-tastic, and it'd be really hard for me to find a flaw. Like, I almost feel like the girl that could de-age people was kind of pointless, and just there to make Chopper cuter for a hot minute. I really didn't see the point of that. It didn't really affect anything. I really think that, like I mentioned before, and I'm going to say it one more time, that her turning Zoro's younger, so their fight would have been more even, I think would have been way doper. But all in all, this movie was fantastic. What did you think? Please comment down below. Please share this review. I am on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you, More Fanime fans. And please ask me questions down below. I will make a video about it if it intrigues me. Talk to you later.